Today on Commander Replay, we play one of the eldest vampires on Innistrad, Edgar Markov. Is Edgar Markov better than the movie Blade 3? Find out next on Commander Replay. Alright, welcome back everyone, playing some Edgar Markov. Taking a look at our opening hand, it's pretty terrible, so we're gonna mulligan that. It's a little better. We've got Sol Ring, Mana Crypt. Not a ton that we can do with it right away, but we'll figure out something. We'll keep this one. Don't have white mana currently. That's a thing that we'll want to find. Opponent says he's playing 4-color Legendary Samurai Tribal. We'll see if that's true or not. I hope it is, just because I want to see it, but... Sol Ring for the Saskia opponent. We draw a Vault of the Archangel. Unfortunately, I wish that was another colored mana, particularly something white. For right now, drop down the Blood Crypt, pay the life, then drop down the Sol Ring, and pass the turn. I'm not going to play the Mana Crypt right here, because we can play it at any time, and I'm just trying to save myself the damage of one flip. We may not even need to cast it the turn after that. I'll kind of just wait as long as we can before we actually cast it. And awesome, the Thrasios and Tymna opponent has already scooped. So, 3-player game now. Goblin Piledriver coming in for the Grenzo opponent. By the way, we're playing Edgar Markov, one of the Commander 2017 commanders. Is 3 red, white, black for a 4/4 with Eminence. Whenever you cast another vampire spell, if Edgar Markov is in the command zone or on the battlefield, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. It has first strike and haste, and whenever Edgar Markov attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Really powerful commander. I believe it's also banned in dual commander now because of how strong it is. But this deck is going to focus on going wide with a lot of tokens, and then making those tokens big enough to do a lot of damage. And Edgar Markov can be a pretty scary opponent. It basically almost requires that someone has a board wipe. Anyway, we're going to drop down our Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Choice between the Sanctum Seeker and the Sangromancer. We'll go with the Sangromancer, why not? Don't think it matters too much. Again, holding off on the Mana Crypt. No real use for it this turn. And we get a 1/1 token off of the Eminence ability. Let's take a look at what our opponents are playing. We have Grenzo Havoc Raiser, a commander that I've been meaning to play for a while but haven't gotten around to, is red for a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Go target creature that player controls, meaning it has to attack a player other than you, or exile the top card of target player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card and you may spend mana as though it were any color to cast that spell. So, really powerful commander. Looks like it's going to be a Goblin tribal deck, so go wide with goblins kind of thing. And opponent's going to look to utilize as many Grenzo triggers as they possibly can. The Goat ability is actually much stronger than you think it is because it makes it really difficult for you to hold up blockers, but both abilities on Grenzo are very, very powerful, so really interesting commander. And then finally we have Saskia the Unyielding, a commander that we played on the channel a bit, is black, red, green, and a white for a 3/4 with Vigilance and Haste. When it enters the battlefield, choose a player. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, it deals that much damage to the chosen player. So, very cool ability. Gives you a way to get damage into players that have walled up with Pillow Fort effects, or that you're just having difficulty attacking, or you can choose the opponent that you need to get out of the game the quickest, and double up the damage on them. Oh, opponent, in the chat, the Saskia opponent said they were playing Samurai Tribal, and they've already laid down their first Samurai, so I'm actually excited to see this deck a little bit. We draw into a Scalding Tarn. We're gonna crack the Scalding Tarn and get something that makes white mana. Yeah, we'll grab the Plateau. So Plateau into play. Do we play the Mana Crypt yet? If we do, we can cast Edgar Markov. That seems pretty good. Yeah, I guess we cast Edgar Markov. So drop the Mana Crypt, leave one floating, not much we can do with it, and let's go to combat against the Grenzo opponent. So Grenzo goes down to 29, takes 5 commander damage. Edgar Markov pumps up the team, +1/+1 counter on each of our vampires. If you've ever played Edgar Markov in paper, you need a lot of tokens and you need a lot of dice to play this commander, because the more tokens you have down, the more dice you're going to need when Edgar Markov attacks. It gets really difficult to manage in paper, so I'm actually pretty excited about playing Edgar Markov online, so I don't need to worry about the power and toughness and the adding of counters. Anyway, Grenzo casts a Krenko Mob Boss, and is going to come back in at us with 2 of their creatures, the Piledriver and the Grenzo. It's going to hit us. So he's going to goad Edgar Markov and goad the Sangromancer. Seems pretty good. That means that we have to attack and we cannot attack the Krenko opponent. So back to our turn. We draw a command tower. Right now I'm going to drop down the Vault of the Archangel. That seems like a pretty good card to have, especially since our life total is probably going to drop pretty quickly with 2 aggressive commanders left on the field. We could tap out most of our colored mana to use the Vault of the Archangel ability, which seems nice. Or we can use the Anguished Unmaking on the Krenko, which doesn't seem like a terrible idea either. I think I'm going to go Anguished Unmaking and Sanguine Bond this turn. I think I like that plan. So Anguished Unmaking on the Krenko, and drop down the Sanguine Bond. So next turn we'll be able to do some work with the Vault of the Archangel. So 2 of these creatures have to attack, so we're going to attack the Saskia player. I'm going to leave this vampire back on defense just so that we can try to stop some of the Grenzo triggers. So Edgar Markov ticks up the team again. Opponent's going to pump up their Samurai. Ooh, he's going to block the Edgar Markov. And Bushido 1's going to kick in. The Samurai is going to take down Edgar Markov. How about that? Bam. 7/7 Samurai. Yeah, I love it. Did not even see that that was a thing. Urborg allowed them to activate that ability a bunch of times because otherwise they wouldn't have enough black mana. Gotta be careful. Opponent has a Hainware Battlements down. That has a funny way of... Can always change the board state really quickly. Goblin Tunneler. Eee. Brightstone Ritual. Add red mana to your mana pool for each goblin on the battlefield. Siege Gang Commander. Good card. Used to use that in my red-white Revelark deck, circa 2010 standard. Bunch of goblin tokens coming into play. Ooh, no attacks from Grenzo. That's good news. Back to our turn. We're gonna get a Mana Crypt trigger. Go with Tails. We won the flip. We draw a Blood Artist. Problem with that Blood Artist is that it's probably going to die really quickly to the Siege Gang Commander, something I'm not super excited about. I'm going to drop down our Command Tower. I guess right here we just try to flood the board with tokens. That way we have as many blockers as we possibly can. We'll tap our Mana Rocks, cast the Blood Artist, get a token trigger off Edgar Markov. Oh man, we're one colored mana short of being able to activate the Vault of the Archangel. So Edgar Markov triggers again, we'll get another Vampire token, and we'll leave the one floating. Gonna send this one back into the Grenzo opponent. So we'll get one trigger off the Sanctum Seeker, and that should also trigger the Sanguine Bond. So Sanguine Bond trigger will also send that at the Grenzo. And Grenzo goes down to 22 off of the Sangromancer. The one good thing is that if opponent decides to go crazy with Siege Gang Commander, we're going to get a lot of triggers off Sangromancer and Blood Artist. Oh, that's a Disrupt Decorum. Interesting card. Something I've been meaning to check out. We're going to be forced to attack the Saskia opponent, and that means that we're going to be open to a really big backswing on our next turn. Siege Gang Commander can no longer be blocked. Siege Gang Commander coming into us. Nothing we can do about it. It's going to hit, and Grenzo triggers. Let's see what opponent decides to do. Looks like they're going to exile the top card of our library. It is a Bloodline Keeper. We could have used that Bloodline Keeper. That would have been real nice. Untadaki, the Cloud Keeper. Enters the battlefield tapped, pay 2 life, add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool, only use it to cast legendary spells. Interesting. Opponent's just going to pump up their Cursed Ronin a whole bunch. And then they're going to sacrifice it to Mirror and the Moaning Well. Not sure that's what I would have done, but either way, we're going to get a Blood Artist and a Sangromancer trigger, which is going to give us a couple Sanguine Bond triggers, and we'll target the Grenzo opponent, putting them down to 17. Back to our turn, Mana Crypt trigger. We'll go Tails. We won the flip. Draw a Tectonic Edge, not super helpful. Do we have enough mana to get Edgar Markov down and use the Vault of the Archangel? The answer is probably not, but 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, it's going to be one or the other. So right here, I'm going to activate Vault of the Archangel instead of casting Edgar Markov, just because I know that we're going to take a huge backswing from the Goblin opponent. Well, we're at 32. All right, so we're going to cast Edgar Markov. I really want to use the Vault of the Archangel ability, but I also want to get Edgar Markov in, which is a very expensive mana play. It'll also pump up our team and make it harder for the Siege Gang Commander to pick things off, which I like. The only problem is we are going to be open to quite a bit of attack. I suppose if we just kill the Saskia player, the goad won't be as impactful. So Edgar Markov is going to trigger, putting a +1/+1 counter on each of our vampires. Sanctum Seeker is going to trigger a bunch of times. That's going to give us a bunch of Sanguine Bond triggers. So Sanguine Bond ticking down the Grenzo opponent. So we just took Grenzo from 17 down to 3. Wow, Sanguine Bond is really good in this deck. Was not expecting that. We also have a ton of power on the board. Saskia goes all the way down to 7. So right now we're in pretty good shape. Board wipe would be probably the worst thing that could happen. Goblin Matron coming into play. Search your library for a goblin card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So a whole bunch of goblins in play. They're all coming back at us. Goblin Pile Driver is going to get huge. It's an 18. Ooh, our life total is going to get really low. We go down to 3. So now everyone's at a super low life total. We'll see what happens here. If the Saskia opponent catches white mana, actually no, they would need white and red. They're short 2 colors. If they catch white and red, then they could just kill us with Saskia. They could actually kill both of us with Saskia. Hit one player and choose the other player, and that would be it for us. So opponent's choosing to go the exile route with Grenzo, which is good, because if he goaded us, we would actually be forced into attacking the Saskia opponent again. We wouldn't be able to finish off the Grenzo through combat damage, though we might get there through Sanguine Bond and the Sanctum Seeker. Wow, can't believe opponent put us down to 3. Goblin Pile Driver. It's a real magic card. Opponent hits our Legion's Landing, gets a 1/1 blocker, lifelink. Opponent does not catch the mana that they need for Saskia the Unyielding. That's a good thing. Kuan, Ogre Ascendant. 3 or more creatures died this turn. Flip it. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. One of the interesting Kamigawa flip cards. Gonna equip it up with the Tenza Godo's Maul. Oh, we might die to our Mana Crypt. We won with tails twice. I think we go heads right here. Uh-oh. Do we have a way to sacrifice any of our creatures? Going heads. Oh, we lost the flip. We're gonna die to our Mana Crypt. Oh, no. Oh, man. All right. Well, I guess we should have activated Vault of the Archangel last turn then. That was the play that we should have made. Oops. So I told opponent that I wanted to see more of their Samurai deck, so we're gonna try to get another game going after this and see how it goes.